everything written down. That way you just refer to the contract. And if there's something different, it's a change of order. It costs more money.
Right.
If you want this a different color, that costs more money. Me, I don't really care. You wanted that blue, now you want it white. As long as I have more white paint, I'll paint it white for you.
Right. You'll just put the labor in.
Yeah, free labor, Most of those things I do myself. I don't ask other people to do that. Those are the things that I do. So I really try to control my labor and make sure that I have tasks for them to do. Most people work best when you give them a project and then they can go and do that project. A lot of the time I have ADD, so I'm like all over the place. I like start one thing, start another, like all over. So I have a bad habit of having people start something, then go over there and do that and so forth. But just making sure everybody's on the same page, a common goal. Like I learned from sports, we're all working for the same goal. We all want to complete this house. Let's all be on the same page and have the same expectations, and also that way we can help each other. If I'm working on the left side of the house, you can see that, so you go work on the right side. I don't need you to work on the left side if I'm working on the left side. So some of the things I struggle is like people just following me around or just being on the clock just to be on the clock. Some people, I love to work with people who, just are willing to do anything, that just want to get the job done, that aren't, just putting in, stamping in the clock and just being here to be here.
Right. Focus, because and
it all comes down to you as the business owner. You set the tone, you set all that. So
right.
If they're not being as productive, it all falls on you. You have to take responsibility. It's the good and the bad. You get all the benefits of being the business owner, but you have all the things to worry about if you don't make enough money, if you don't make ends meet, if you don't have the job. It's good and bad.
Yeah, but setting the tone, you could set the tone as much as you want with people. There's certain people that just will not follow that. They're just there for the hourly. They don't care what gets done.
You have to fire them.
Yeah, you have to fire them.
Yeah, you have to, and most of the time, if you hire your friends, it's hard because you have to fire your friends. But it has to be done. You can't work with people who make it unpleasant. You want to work with people who, bring a good attitude. My biggest pet peeve is people who give me excuses. If I ask them, oh, could you just get that corner? Oh, I was going to get that corner later. Or, that person interrupted me, or, so forth and so forth. I don't need to hear, why it didn't get done. It's just more so the fact that it's going to get done. I'm not pointing these things out to nitpick you or to criticize you. We're all on the same team. It just needs to get done. And my other thing is, I hate when people complain about leaving. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. Like, are we going to leave soon? I don't think we'll have enough time. It's about getting the job done and getting paid,
Right.
So that's what I love, when people are willing to do anything. And a lot of people who I work with, they really want to be a part of something. They love that feeling. They're willing to do anything. And so when you get to know your employees and you get to know, what makes them happy, or if they need a certain amount of money and you can provide that for them, they're willing to do anything. I have people who just pass out flyers and knock on doors because that's the most valuable thing to me at the moment. So it's about finding what everybody's strengths are, how you can help everybody, and most importantly, how you can help yourself succeed.
Well, isn't that part of the human experience, is feeling like you're a part of a group or a crowd or accomplishing something? The best days at work that I could think about, we accomplished something big as a team. It was done the right way. We got it done, even though it was hard at times or whatnot, whatever hurdles that we had to jump over. So I get what you're saying about, so you've been turning into piecework, paying for pieces and stuff like that, because it's like,
piecework or salary.
Makes sense.
Or salary.
Right.
I'm saying basically this is how much money I can afford to pay you. Is that okay with you? I try to, this is, you try to work it out. I love when people come to me and say, this is how much I want to make. And I say, okay, well, this is what you're going to need to do to earn it.
Right. Right.
Because that's what I have to do. This is how much money I need. Okay, well, now what do I need to do to get that?
Well, that's like the carrots and sticks, what's your motivation for earning that money? Is it being here for a certain amount of hours, or is it getting a job done? So, let's say you're paying somebody per hour and they outperform what you would think or whatnot. Have you been inclined to give people bonuses and stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely. So up until this point, it's all been hourly. I pay people hourly. So I start people off at 15 and I say, this is your starting wage. This is what I feel a minimal person should get, as far as like a prepper. Like, you're just here, you show up on time, you're dressed well, I'm going to pay you $15 an hour just for doing that. Okay, if you have a good attitude, I'm paying you $17 an hour because it's a pleasure to work with you. You're making it a pleasure to work with other people. You have a good spirit. You have an I can attitude. That's $17 an hour. If you can, if you can do things with the brush, like a cut and do those important things, that's $20 an hour. If you can work on your own, like I can just send you to a job and you know everything that I know, and like you can do the things that I want, that's $25 an hour. So I tell people, right from the very beginning, I say, hey, if you can learn these things, I'm going to give you a raise, and I'll pay you that day. I'll give you the raise. So it's not like I'm going to pay you tomorrow. That day, I'm going to pay you that whole day, that amount. And so people really, they want to get to the most, the well-paying-ish position as possible. And what does that take? And so it's nice, it's nice to have people want to do more. People want to get better. People have a I can attitude. And I say, you either have to be a step ahead of me or a step behind me. You just have to, be in the positions. And so you find out right away, who's a good worker and who's not. And I just, to have too kind of a heart, saying to just like keep the other people around, because typically everyone's my friend, and they don't necessarily like, have a job. And so I want to give them money so that they can, support themselves and whatnot. But at what point, is it hurting me and hurting the organization type thing? And so you have to make those decisions, whatever is best for yourself.
Yeah, that's tough. I couldn't imagine, because you get to know people on a personal level.
Especially if it's family.
And if this is family or your friends, their family. You know their loved ones. Maybe they have kids, like a family to support, and that, and maybe the old lady doesn't work or they're on welfare or whatever, and you have to deal with that. I couldn't imagine, the stress that brings with. I could understand it being difficult to fire somebody that know all that stuff about.
Absolutely. And so that's why it's also important, too, just setting the tone as far as the expectations of, what is work going to look like? How long is it going to last for? All those type of things. It's so important to tell people up front. They appreciate that. Same with homeowners, when you're upfront and honest with them, as far as, sometimes I get paint on your window, but let me tell you how I'm going to clean it off, rather than painter telling them, oh no, I don't get any paint on any windows.
So let's learn something. So what's the trick to getting paint off your window?
Razor blade.
Razor blade? Just scraping it.
Scrape it off, yeah. Well, the trick actually is, so I always joke around when painting, the trick is to keep it wet and long strokes. So, same secrets of life. Okay?
Yeah, same secrets. That's funny how that could hit several different categories of life. Yeah, absolutely.
Secrets of life right there. But as far as windows and painting, when it's wet, you can clean it up. It's all water-based, mostly water-based paint. So with water, it will just clean right off. You don't have anything to worry. And so when you mask off a window and you spray it or paint over it, when you're done, if you take it off and it's still wet, you can just wipe it right off. But, if it is dry, you can just use a razor blade if it's on the window. But if it's on the part that's the white part that's the seal
caulking.
Around it. Yeah, not the caulking, the window seal, the actual window frame, I guess.
The rubber stuff.
The rubber stuff, you can't. It's so difficult to get that off, and using different types of paint thinners or things like that doesn't work. But what does work is what my brother brings with me from. He's a massage therapist now. He brought me some the oils. So he brought me those oils, and those oils take it off. But
off of the rubber?
Really? Yeah.
Wow. Do you know what kind of oil? What oil is it?
I don't know. He brought it to me. I can't think of the name of it, but...
he ain't going to give it out.
Yeah.
We'll try it. It's a business secret right there.
We'll post it in the description if we get the information after.
Yeah. But, like I said, water, it's all water-based paint, so it's all really easy to clean up. And just making sure you're careful and cautious at all times. And so, what I tell customers and what I tell my employees is that, you just have to... Our first step of the procedure is masking off the foundation and putting drop cloths, because then you have a 3 to 5 foot area to work in, and if stuff does fall, it's going to fall right on the drop cloth or tarp, and you don't have anything to worry about. But making sure that there's buckets of water. We call it emergencias. If someone yells out emergency, everyone grabs a bucket of water and comes and, puts out the fire basically and cleans it up.
Emergencia. So you have a lot of Mexicans working with you, I'm guessing.
I'm El Gringo. That's my Spanish. White man. Como te llamas? But no, one of my goals is to learn Spanish. They say the more languages the more money you make. So I've always loved Spanish women. I love the culture, all that good stuff. So we speak a little Spanish. I try to practice all the time. La baña and stuff like that.
The bathroom. Yeah. When I lived in Southern California, I got to know Spanish pretty well because I lived in a predominantly Mexican neighborhood and I worked at the Blockbuster just out of high school. And so, yeah, I got to know it pretty well because I took 2 years in high school, but I mean, you don't learn much from that. You need to conversate with people.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'd love to take the, what's the computer program?
Rosetta Stone?
Rosetta Stone. I'd love to do the Rosetta Stone for that. But, yeah, the Mexicans we work with, they're painters too. But, we don't have to interact with them very often.
Sure.
So,
just bien. Good job. Very good.
Yeah, I know all the little stuff, but they could start yapping off a conversation, and they could be calling me the worst things in the world. I have no idea.
Yeah, my favorite thing to say is "El gusto es mío." The pleasure is mine.
Yeah. So
another thing that about painting though is that in other Washington is one of the only states that requires you to have a license. In Florida, you just need a paintbrush.
Really? So you need a license in Washington, but it's one of the only few states?
I don't know about few, but I just know in Florida, where my cousin lives, all you need is a paintbrush. You don't have to have insurance. In other countries, like in Colorado, you just have to have insurance, but you don't have to be licensed or bonded or any of that stuff. You just have in case you were to get hurt. But a lot of the other states, you don't have to have anything at all.
I think I'm almost in favor of that because it's less money for you to spend and
most people want to pay cash. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and less control. Government control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, don't you get a tax cut if you do anything to your house, right?
Yeah.
So usually you can use that as a tax write-off.
So they write it off. So that's the people I want to pay you cash, but I don't want to pay any taxes, but I'm but you're going to put it on your taxes and say you wrote it off. Mm-hmm. So it's going to come back.
Right.
If you don't want to pay taxes, I'm not going to give you any type of contract. You're going to have no record. You're going to pay me in cash. There's not going to, be any type of trace back to me type thing. But I still think that it's going to come back to me. Nothing you do in life, I'm saying, is not going to come back to you.
Never trust that. Always cover your own bases.
Absolutely.
It's not worth it to not be able to have your own business one day or be sued or the government come after you and fine you and it closes your business because you can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just want to hear a funny story from you. Have you seen anybody having sex through a window? Or nudity? Or
yeah, I had one customer. It was funny. She used to her husband was out of town on business all the time, and so she would get drunk and watch us. And so when we do the pressure washing, we'd have the our white shirts and water them out, take our shirts off and stuff like that. Super funny. She loved it. She would sit out in her patio on the drinking her drinks and offer us drinks and give us tips to take our stuff off. But
what?
To take your clothes off.
Yeah.
Like prostitution.
Whoa. Yeah. It was interesting. And then I had another customer. I went to her house. And so this customer, I gave her an estimate. And she had some family over or people who lived there, her sister and her daughter and stuff like that. And I get a call the next day from the sister asking me to come over to the house. And so I'm like, is your sister there? Do you want me to paint your house? Do you want me to, you're going to sign a contract type thing? She's like, no. She's wants me to come over. I'm like, well, I don't understand. I'm not going to do that unless I'm, getting paid or, what are you asking me on a date or type thing? And so, yeah, basically she liked me a lot and wanted me to come over to her house. But that was interesting story. Yeah.
So you went over to the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's like,
And
all right.
she was crazy, yeah. She showed up at my house, like she found my address on the contract, and then like came over to my house on like Christmas, and like wanted to spend Christmas with my family.
Love at first sight.
Nice.
This
She
girl
called
was
me up,
sprung.
and she called me up. And she said, "I'm outside," and I said, "Outside where?" She said, "I'm outside your house." I was like, "How do you know where I live?" She said it was on the contract, and I was like, "Whoa!" She said that she had some gifts for me and stuff like that. She had a whole bunch of gifts, like socks and like airplane shots and random stuff like that. And I was like, "But you're not coming in." Like,
That's